debate, central question that took basically 20 or 25 years to resolve. We now know the answer, and we'll come to it. The answer is that bits of information never are lost, but nevertheless, the things that came out of the question is so deep that one can hardly say that it was Hawking's mistake. It was one of the deep observations about physics that led to great things. Okay, so you might say, wait a minute, wait a second. The bits, Alice's bits, fell into the black hole, and there they are, they're in the black hole. Maybe you can't get access to them. It's not too different than locking them in a room and throwing away the key. We don't say that information is lost then. But to make things even more confusing, and this was another discovery of Hawking's, an earlier discovery of Hawking's, black holes evaporate. They disappear. It's as if the box that you hid some information in, after a while, disappears. How that evaporation takes place is not so important. Basically anything evaporates, everything evaporates. If you give enough time, little pieces of it fall off, disappear into the atmosphere. And if I were to just draw, to use my extremely crude computer skills to try to make a movie of a black hole evaporating, what does it evaporate? It evaporates photons, light, gravitons, other kinds of particles, and as it evaporates, it loses energy. In the process of losing energy, it shrinks. And eventually shrinks down to a very tiny black hole, and then it's gone. But when it's gone, where is Alice? Or more to the point, where are Alice's bits? Where are the bits of information that the minus first law of physics says can never disappear? The black hole is gone. Alice's bits could not have gotten out from behind the horizon. Why not? Because to get out from behind the horizon, they would have had to exceed the speed of light, just like the fish would have to exceed the speed of sound. And so we have a real dilemma. We have a conflict of principle. On the one hand, black holes seem to erase information. On the other hand, the most basic law of physics that I know says that information never. Next, what is entropy? You've all heard the word entropy, and you've probably heard that entropy has to do with confusion, and entropy has to do with chaos, and entropy has to do with the world coming to an end because everybody gets too confused to tie their shoelaces or whatever. But entropy has a very distinct meaning, so let me tell you what it is. Here I've imagined a bathtub full of water. Just to get away from black holes for a while, let's think about a bathtub full of hot water, or warm water, and how much information do we need to know about that bathtub full of hot water? How much information is there? And how much do we need to know in order to know whether we should step into it and take a bath? Well, really there's about two things we really want to know. We want to know whether there's any water in the bathtub. So we want to know the volume of water that's in the bathtub. That's important, how much water is there. And the other thing we want to know is the temperature of the water. You get in your bathtub, you want to know the temperature of the water. That's about all. That's about all the information you need. That's about all the information that would be easy to get. How much more information is there about that bathtub full of water? Well, the answer is a huge amount, an enormous amount of information. The physicists all know that. And what is it? Well, if you looked at the water through a microscope, you would of course see molecules. The position and velocity of every one of those molecules is information. That information may be extremely inaccessible. Let's call it hidden information. Why is it hidden? It's hidden because it's stored in a huge, huge number of degrees of freedom, many, many too many to take account of, and they're too tiny to see. That's all. So, yes, the bathtub has a huge amount of hidden information. Hidden, as I said, because it's stored in things which are too small and too numerous to keep track of. That's what entropy is. It is simply the information that's hidden, usually for the reason that I said. But for any reason, it If information is hidden from you, we call it entropy. That's all that entropy is. What was extraordinary was that sometime around 1972, a young physicist by the name of Bekenstein, this is not a picture of Jacob Bekenstein in 1972. Jacob Bekenstein was a student, and he announced black holes have entropy. What does that mean? That meant that black holes have in them hidden information. Well, that's not surprising. There's no surprise in that. Of course black holes have hidden information. Something that's exactly what black holes are. They're a place where information falls underneath. You can't see it on the horizon of a black hole. But the real importance of what Bekenstein did was to be quantitative and say how much hidden information is in a black hole. What is the maximum amount of information that is hidden inside? The maximum number of bits that can be hidden behind the horizon of a black hole. Here is the way he approached it. I'm going to tell you to rough it out here how he approached the problem. I'm not going to do the calculation for you, but see what he did. He asked a question which is pretty similar to the following. Supposing you want to know how many atoms it takes to fill up a bathtub full of water. Well, there's a simple way to do it. You drop in one atom at a time, and you count how many it takes until the level of the water is up to where you want. You know what the answer is going to be. The number of atoms, the number of bits, or the number of drops of water is going to be proportional to the volume of the bathtub. Right? If you double the volume of the bathtub, you'll have to put in twice as much water, and therefore twice as much gas. That's the kind of usual thing. What Bekenstein did is he said, let's actually count how many bits of information it takes to drop into a little tiny black hole in order to build it up to a large black hole. So he said, oh, let's start with a tiny black hole. A tiny black hole is practically no black hole at all. Tiny one, as big as a peanut, or a peanut is just about a heavy black hole, about as heavy as the Earth. Let's start with a lighter one, about as heavy as a dust mote. And that's about the smallest black hole that you have. And drop a bit of information into it. Now, what does a bit of information mean? A bit of information means an elementary particle. It could be a photon. So let's say it's a photon. We drop one photon in, and the only information is that we dropped a photon. Or perhaps it's the information that we dropped a photon of one polarization instead of another polarization. But we drop an elementary particle. Now, there's a deep thing going on here, that information in quantum mechanics comes in discrete units, and they're called particles. So what Bekenstein did is he said, throw in a particle, throw in a bit, the effect will be to increase the energy and therefore the mass of the black hole, and the black hole will grow. Do it again, drop the second drop in. The black hole will grow a little bit. Do it again. Do it again. Until the black hole achieves the size that you're interested in. And count how many photons of the appropriate wavelength does it take to build the black hole of an appropriate size. What did Bekenstein find? I wonder if there's another one after this. No. What he found, well, first, what was the natural expectation? The natural expectation would have been just like a bathtub with a number of drops of water is proportional to the volume. The natural expectation would be that the number of bits of information that it takes to build a black hole of a certain size would be proportional to the number of cubic meters or number of cubic kilometers or whatever it is, the volume. That is not what Bekenstein found. What Bekenstein found was that the number of hidden bits of information in the black hole is equal to the area of the horizon measured in the unit called the quantum. First of all, that was very surprising, that it was area and not volume. What it meant was that when the bits of information fall onto the horizon, they behave as if they were little impenetrable objects which collected on the horizon and simply couldn't push each other out of the way, and achieved achieve some density, almost as though you had a bunch of coins on the table and you tried to pack them in as tightly as possible, but on the horizon and not in the interior of the black hole. So that was the first surprising thing. The other surprising thing, well, it wasn't surprising at that point, but it might surprise you, that the size of one of these little bits, in other words, the area occupied by one of these little bits, is very, very small. 1 Planck area. Planck does not mean board, the name of the famous physicist Planck, who has a constant named after him called H. V here is Newton's gravitational constant, it's speed of light, and if you work it out, it's 10 to the minus 66 square centimeters. It would take about 1,000 trillion of these little Planck areas to wrap the nevertheless, and this is what Bekenstein calculated in a combination of quantum and properties of black holes. Now, what are, you could ask about the bathtub full of water. The bathtub full of water has a different entropy. What is that hidden information? Well, we know today. It was not known, incidentally, around 1900. It was not known for certain. There was atoms, the notion of atoms, the position of atoms. But you could ask the same question about the black hole. The black hole has entropy. There are hidden microscopic things on the horizon you don't know about, which are somehow making up that entropy. We're sort of in the same situation as just before Einstein, when it was known that fluids and gases and materials had entropy, but it wasn't known for sure what degrees of freedom, the little objects which constituted the hidden information. There are examples, theories, mathematical constructions. One of them is in string theory, and I'll just tell you